Hello everyone, welcome to the session today on Classroom Theatre, Theatre on Social Issues and Themes. The objectives of our lesson today are to develop a conceptual understanding about what makes a plot, to understand about the criteria for selecting a good plot, and to gain experience in developing a drama based on social issues. Now, when you are reading a story and a drama, can you tell me a few of the things which you observe as a reader? Would somebody like to answer to that?
Firstly, when we read a story, it can be in the first person, second person, there's sort of narration, and when you read a play, there's sort of like a dialogue. So that's one of the differences that you see when you read a story, and there's the difference between drama.
Okay, that is correct. Would somebody else like to try?
Drama gives a detailed description of what the character looks like, where the platform is, and such things. While in story, it is completely based on our imagination. We can imagine how the character looks like and all.
Yes, does somebody else have to add anything to this?
In drama, there can be multiple plots, whereas in story, there won't be multiple plots, there would be single plots, but there would be some different scenes. As well as in drama, there are many characters involved in drama, whereas in story, there would be maybe 3 or 5 characters only.
Okay. So, if I were to ask you, which one do you find more complex, a story or a drama? What would your response be? Would somebody like to answer?
I think a drama will be more complex than a story, because in story it will be starting from a particular point and will be ending like it will be in an order. In drama it could be like it could start from an incident, and then it could go to the previous one and then come back again, like that. So a kind of confusion may be there.
Okay, that is correct. Now, I would like you to think a little and tell me if as prospective teachers, as teachers in your classroom, you ask your students to come up with a short skit, a short play. What are the things that you can do as a teacher?
Firstly, as a teacher, you can involve the learners by making use of their creative skills. So you can actually, when you introduce drama to the class, you can ask your students to, bring in costumes and bring in, their ideas to what they're doing. So yeah, costumes and sounds and all of that can be included to, bring in the talents of the different students.
Yes, that is correct. But what about the plot itself? What is the best possible way to help your students develop a plot? Where would you like to start from? Would somebody like to answer? Alright, what we can do is, when you are teaching in a class, since you are dealing with learners who are relatively young, perhaps class 8 or 9, who may or may not have a hold over the language, what one can do as a teacher is to give them an idea of the various parts in the story. It can start off with a short introduction, followed by the body of the story, which is where the plot develops. Finally, it can end with the climax, followed by a resolution of the conflict which had come up as part of the story. And also, when the story is unfolding, the story of the play which your students are performing, definitely you can encourage the students to do it with the help of dialogues. Now, I would like us to view this particular clip where we see the classroom teacher doing something similar. Let's watch the video.
Hello friends. Observe this picture carefully. You have watched clipping now. What is it about?
Child labor.
Child labor?
Cruelty to children.
Poverty.
Poverty?
Street children.
Good. The video problematizes some social issues, right? Now you may have identified some of them. There may be more. But now we have to develop some plots. Generally, a plot revolves around a conflict or a problem which is to be resolved. Can you work out on a plot from this video?
A boy was kidnapped while coming from school and made to beg.
Is there anything else?
A girl lost her way during a tour and reached the hands of a street circus man.
Well, in both cases, there are plots, no doubt. But in the first example, there is a conflict between a boy and the kidnappers. And in the second example, there is a conflict between the girl and circus man. Okay. But has the conflict been resolved in both the cases? No. The central character has to face a conflict, right? Who is the central character in your example?
A boy.
What about you?
In mine, it is girl.
Right. Think whether the characters themselves can resolve the problem, or will you need more characters? What the conflict is and how it is resolved together, make a plot. Now you may sit in groups and develop plots. See how the conflicts you create can be resolved. Are you ready to present your plots?
Yes, sir.
Who? Next.
A girl who lost her way during a tour and reached the hands of a street circus man is rescued by the police.
Okay. Is there anything?
A boy who ran away from home on being beaten up by his father for scoring poor grades in exams is brought back home by his teacher.
Okay. We have listened to the plots presented by our friends, right? Which of these plots do you like the most?
The fourth one.
Why?
It is connected to my personal experience.
Oh, is it? What about you?
I like all of them.
You like all of them. I suggest you may continue to sit in groups and come to an agreement on the criteria that may be used for selecting a plot, right? Did you select the plot? What were the criteria you used for selection? From our discussions, we have come to a conclusion what criteria we have to follow. Let us see. It contains conflict. It has contemporary relevance. It has an internal structure, rising action, climax, falling action. Now, you may develop a 5-minute drama with this. Okay. What questions you have to pose yourself before planning to prepare a plot? Who is that?
Who are the characters?
What are their actions?
Nice.
Where are the actions taking place?
Okay.
What is the dialogue?
So, what are the aspects that we have to know regarding the criteria before while performing a drama?
Well, Now that you have just viewed the video, can a few of you tell me what are the things that were happening in that clip? What was being shown by in the video? Would somebody like to try?
There was a student who was enacting a teacher perhaps in the first part, and then he enacted a short play, and then it continues, the play continues, and perhaps through that play other learners try to understand what is happening in the story or in that particular piece of work.
That is correct. Now, as you also must have observed that the teachers ensured that no writing of the script was permitted. Why do you think that was the case? Would somebody like to answer?
Firstly, I think because they want the students to, recall from their memory, and also to think on their feet from the imagination rather than just reading from a script. So use the imagination.
Okay, that is correct. I will add another advantage. If there is a written script given to the students, there is a chance that the students may feel scared of missing a dialogue. But by not allowing them to put anything in writing, the teacher ensured that the students could speak impromptu without anything prepared. Therefore, the apprehension which a student might otherwise feel can be negated adequately. Also, later on, as a later stage of the drama, the teacher can ensure that before the actual skit is put up in front of the rest of the class, each group, as you have observed, gets a chance to rehearse what is it that they are going to present. Do you think as a teacher that is a good idea? Would somebody like to respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way. I mean, rather than the more usual way of teaching classes, I mean, by explaining, by using drama as a medium, I think students will be able to firstly use their talents, yes, and also use the imagination second, and make the class more interactive and help them to be more participatory in class. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, that is correct. Now, I would like one of you to try and tell me what you feel about the feedback which the teacher was providing to the students. What do you think of that? Do you think feedback is necessary at this stage? Would somebody like to answer? Yes?
Yeah, I think that feedback is very necessary because they will, as they are student, they are doing it. So they might have made some mistakes, and by getting feedback, they will learn how to improve it. So feedback is very necessary.
Okay. Yes. Does somebody else want to add something?
Feedback is necessary because the teacher should appreciate first of all, so that they will get an encouragement for their performance, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, that is also correct. As a teacher, one of the qualities which a teacher should have is to be able to encourage their students at every point of the teaching and learning process. That helps by making the student feel confident about the teacher and about approaching the teacher with their problems. Now, to go back to the idea of constructing a play from the story given at hand, you must have observed in the video that none of the performances which the students put up were very complex in nature. Those were rather simple. Similarly, you could conceive a plot centered around, for example, a conflict between a parent and a teenager who has perhaps got less marks than desired, or it can be between two friends who have a quarrel over something small. In this way, you see how different stories can be taken up as input for converting and presenting a play within the classroom itself. As we have already seen the plot revolves around the conflict which the central characters of the play face in their situations. The success of the plot which is presented also depends upon the characterization or the nitty-gritties of the main characters around whom the story is revolving. What are a few of the things which as teachers you would want your students to include to chalk out the character of the play? Can you think of some things?
As a teacher, we may tell the students about maybe the physical description of the character, so that when writing the script or preparing the script, they may know how to form the character. Even the qualities that the character has can be highlighted by the teacher, so that students would be able to prepare the script properly.
Okay, that is correct. Could you be a little more specific and tell me the various aspects which you will include to develop the character? Any guesses?
The emotions, certain emotions of certain characters should also be highlighted. For example, if a character is angry or sad, then the intonation should be there, so as to make other learners aware of the situation in which the character is at that moment of time.
That is correct. Apart from the emotion, is there anything else that you can ask your students to develop or to think about regarding the character?
The facial expressions which the enactors give, that is also important, I feel.
Okay, you are correct. But apart from the emotion or the facial expression, to develop the character, a few of the things which you can keep in mind are perhaps the age of the character, the background of the character, whether the character is married or a single person, whether the character is a working person or whether he or she is a student. So, the more information you add about the character, the richer and better will your central character become. And as teachers, these are a few of the things which you can highlight when explaining the idea of developing a character to your students. In a drama, the characters are usually presented through their actions, their dialects, as you have rightly pointed out, and also the thoughts, what a character is thinking about. Now, let us go over to the description of scene 3 of Shaw's play Saint John, and would one of you please read it out for the rest of us?
Orleans, 29 April 1429. Dunois, aged 26, is pacing up and down a patch of ground on the south bank of the Silver Loire, commanding a long view of the river in both directions. He has had his lance stuck up with a pennon which streams in a strong east wind. His shield with its bent sinister lies beside it. He has his commander's baton in his hand. He is well built, carrying his armor easily. His broad brow and pointed chin gave him an equilaterally triangular face already marked by active service and responsibility, with the expression of a good-natured and capable man who has no affections and no foolish illusions. His page is sitting on the ground, elbows on knees, cheeks on fists, idly watching the water. It is evening, and both man and boy are affected by the loveliness of the Loire.
Okay, thank you so much. In this, you have just seen how describing the physical traits of the characters lends richness to the characters themselves. Also, you have observed how a description of the surroundings in which the character is situated adds to the beauty of the description which the viewers can imagine. Similarly, as teachers, you can point out these subtleties to your students to help them come up with a clearer picture of the setting in which they are going to plays their characters. Now, I would like us to watch a clipping from Beckett's famous drama Waiting for Godot. Let us watch the clip.
Nothing to be done.
I'm beginning to come round to that opinion. All my life I've tried to put it from me, saying, Vladimir, be reasonable. You haven't yet tried everything. And I resume the struggle. So there you are again.
Am I?
I'm glad to see you back. I thought you were gone forever.
Me too.
Together again at last. We'll have to celebrate this. But how? Get up till I embrace you.
Not now, not now.
May one inquire where His Highness spent the night?
In a ditch.
A ditch? Where?
Over there.
And they didn't beat you?
Beat me? Certainly they beat me.
The same lot as usual?
The same? I don't know.
When I think of it, all these years, but for me, where would you be? You'd be nothing more than a little heap of bones at the present minute, no doubt about it.
And what of it?
It's too much for one man. On the other hand, what's the good of losing heart now? That's what I say. We should have thought of it 1,000,000 years ago in the 90s.
Ah, stop blathering and help me off with this bloody thing.
Hand in hand, from the top of the Eiffel Tower among the first. We were presentable in those days. Now it's too late. They wouldn't even let us up. What are you doing?
Taking off my boot. Did that never happen to you?
Boots must be taken off every day. I'm tired telling you that. Why don't you listen to me?
Help me.
It hurts.
Hurts? He wants to know if it hurts.
No one ever suffers but you. I don't count. I'd like to hear what you'd say if you had what I have.
It hurts.
Hurts. He wants to know if it hurts.
You might button it all the same.
True. Never neglect the little things of life.
What do you expect? You always wait till the last moment.
The last moment. Hope deferred maketh the something sick. Who said that?
Why don't you help me?
Sometimes I feel it coming all the same. Then I go all queer. How shall I say, relieved, and at the same time appalled. Appalled. Funny. Nothing to be done. Well?
Nothing.
Show.
There's nothing to show.
Try and put it on again.
I'll air it for a bit.
There's man all over for you, blaming on his boots the faults of his feet.
Well, you have just watched the clip, and as you can see, Vladimir and Estragon are blissfully and painfully oblivious to their own condition. They go about repeating their actions every day, unmindful of the monotony and the captivity of the situation in which they are placed. They also do not activate their mind to question or brood over their own condition. The compressed vacuum in their lives is constantly being disregarded by these two characters. Now, compare this with the previous description which you had just read out. What are the differences which you see between the description which you read out and the video clip which you just saw? Would somebody like to answer? Yes?
The video that which we just watched, it shows it is stagnant, that the background, it is not at all changing, and they are waiting for something that is not yet to come. And in the description that we read, it itself gives the liveliness for the entire thing. The river that flows, or the age of the people is being described, the everything, we get the detailed description, and we can imagine it is like lively. And the video, it is just standing still, like, and it is not like we won't feel the movement in it. There is no passage of time.
Okay, that is correct. Now, from this, as teachers, there are a few things which you can point out to your learners regarding the characterization of the plays. Look at the screen, and while I read out the aspects which can be introduced by you as teachers to help your students to come up with good characters for their plays. Now, I would like to draw your attention to the screen. They are appearance of the characters, the age of the characters, as you have seen in the first description that the age was mentioned as 26. Then the gender, whether the character is going to be a male or a female, the level of education which the character exhibits, the occupation, their profession, the financial status of these characters, the marital status, their social status and their cultural backgrounds, their hobbies, their sexual orientation even perhaps, their religious beliefs, ambitions, motivation and so on. Is there anything else which you can add to this list? Would somebody like to try?
Yeah, you can talk about the past experiences, past life, the incidences that have happened in the character's life. Yeah, that could be one aspect.
Okay. All right, we have more or less covered the various things which can be added to make the characters richer. Apart from the characters which are being presented in the play, having a good dialogue is central to making your play a success. To make it sound realistic, one needs to read it aloud to hear what the words sound like when placed in the mouths of the central characters. If the dialogue which you make your students choose should be done keeping in mind the kind of character, the kind of central character which your student has come up with. Also, as one of you have rightly pointed out earlier, the way a person speaks, the character's presentation, that is their diction, is equally important to give a certain mannerism to the characters being portrayed. To do this, there are a couple of questions which you can make your students ask themselves. These are, where does the character come from? What is the age of the character? What type of person do you want the character to be? What is their social status? The relationship with other characters, whether it is a good relationship or it is a fighting relationship, whether there is harmony or whether there is conflict. What is the context of the dialogue? What is the setting of the dialogue? Whether it is set in a busy road or whether it is set at the cinema hall or even a classroom perhaps. All these influence the dialogues of the characters and help to make the students portray their characters in a better light with the help of the dialogues which they come up with. Can you think of other roles which the dialogues have to play, which you will explain to your students?
The teacher should basically explain the students that the importance of dialogue to convey the meaning or the theme of the play. The dialogue should be short and concise so that students are able to maybe learn them, and while performing should be able to speak them properly, and the dialogue should be such so that it basically conveys the theme.
Okay, that is correct. Would anybody else like to add to it? Yes?
Voice modulation is very necessary, so teacher should tell the student about that they should keep in mind that modulation, when to be lower pitch, when to be to speak high in a high pitch, and there should be gap between the dialogues, that the teacher should explain them how to do that.
Why do you think that is important?
Because it will bring the emotions and the character in which the character is. So if the character's mood is he is angry, then the way he will speak is totally different from the other. So there should be voice modulation is very necessary.
That is absolutely correct. The way a dialogue is delivered, teaching your students about that will help them to form their characters better. Also, the dialogues inadvertently help to take the story forward. Another important aspect of the drama is the style or the manner in which it is performed. It is the how of the drama. In the field of theatre, the style is known by various names. These may include the theatre style, performance style, or even sometimes it's called the theatrical style. The characters do not simply stand in one position to deliver the dialogues. Why do you think that the characters need to change their position when the drama is underway? Would somebody like to answer? Yes?
When a person is delivering a dialogue, if he is standing still, it will seem like he has memorized something and he's just saying it without any emotion. When some action comes into play, the play will be like we won't feel that it is being enacted in front of us, but it is really being played in front of us. We feel that. So movement is important. One should not stand in a particular place and deliver a dialogue. He should move a bit, one step or two step forward or backward. We will feel that a good play will be then produced.
That is absolutely correct. Would somebody else like to add to that? Alright, in that case, now let us go back to the classroom and see how the teacher is making the students aware of this particular aspect. Let us watch the video now.
What more aspects we have to?
Exit and entry of characters.
Okay. Next.
Their positions on the stage.
Their positions on the stage, right.
Their movement from one place to another.
Okay.
Their gestures.
Gestures, okay.
Facial expressions.
Right.
Now that you have just observed the video, a basic tip which you can give to your students when they are moving about on the stage is to ask them to move, keeping in mind the dialogue which they are speaking. When the spoken lines and situation in a scene ask for something, then it would probably be more appropriate to move forward or backward. In that way, the dialogue which your students are speaking and the actions which they are performing will be in sync with each other. Otherwise, it might look like it is rather a pushed effort. The actor must also ask himself, when would my character be more naturally inclined to move? Will I move more when I see a rat walking by past me, or will I move more when I see somebody coming and about to bump into me? So, as teachers, these are a few of the things which you can teach your students to ask themselves, so that they can put up a better performance with better understanding of the way a play progresses. The stage actions, which include the movements, facial expressions and also the gestures which your students need to make, come from within the actor. These are not things which you can impose on them. So the more you can make your students understand their intrapersonal intelligences, the better the play will turn out to be. Now that you have observed the various actions which you can tell your students, I think this more or less sums up our lesson for the day. We come to the conclusion of the lesson today. Hope you had a good time. Thank you.